Hopefully someone walks in and joins on here. We'll go ahead and get MPO meeting called to order on June 20, 2024. We've taken a tentative roll call, one short. We can go ahead and move into, why don't we just do some reports? We'll start off the main financial.
Sure, the financial statements were included in the agenda packet. These were reviewed up for them.
All right. Doug just wrapped up the deal for us. He gave us one. Thank you. We'll go ahead and back up then. Item number 2, vote and approve of the agenda. We have a motion to move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. We'll pick up on the minutes, and we need an approval on that.
Move approval.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion or corrections to the minutes required? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Up next, we have a consent and vote on the May financial statement. I think Dylan's going to cover that.
Yes, as I was saying, the financial statements in the agenda packet, it's our standard statement. These were reviewed by the finance subcommittee. There were no questions, concerns about that, so we recommend your.
Any questions, Dylan? None, entertain a motion.
For approval.
Second.
And second, any discussion on the financial? None, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Financial statements are approved. Up next, you have a consent and vote on our investment policy, and it turns back over to Dylan.
Thank you. The MPO is required to review and update its investment or reaffirm its investment policy every year. The investment policy had a significant update in 2021. Over the last couple of years, the finance subcommittee and staff have looked at it and not had any suggested changes. That's the same this year. We've looked at it, I saw no reason to make any changes, so we just asked you to reaffirm what we have already in our policy.
Move. Second. Moving the second, and any questions on it? Again, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Yeah. Up next, we have a comment on MPO actions. Dylan.
Not aware if there's anybody here for public comment. Don't think so.
All right. Next, we have a presentation to the top services update. And Kathy.
Jenna's going to help me with handing out some information. You recall the last time I was here and provided an update, we have a lot of moving parts and pieces to the work we have underway. The human capital analysis, the governance assessment, and then also the salary analysis. Our intention was to complete the salary analysis in order to provide a schedule for July 1st adoption. And we have been working very hard on that. The plan was to be able to do that and then move into the human capital plan. But what I will tell you in completing the research, we found that there were some aspects of the work that we needed to hit the pause button on actually presenting a schedule to you in order to be really thorough and effective in making sure we presented the right. So while Gunner's still handing out, in doing the research to prepare for the salary analysis, some of the things that we really worked through, we found that it's been a little while since the job descriptions have been updated. And so in working with the team, and I have to commend the team because we have worked very hard to look at everything. We've looked at job descriptions. The team has provided me their resumes, so I could look at the job descriptions, balance against the work that they're doing today, and also balance it against their skill set. So I could accurately price not only their work, but where they as individuals fit within the salary ranges as well. And that's where we really recognized that we needed to align their job descriptions with the work that they're doing. So we needed to kind of stop for 1 second and make sure we had the job descriptions all accurate. We also recognize that the research is indicating the trend in the role for planner will continue to become increasingly competitive. I have been leveraging several resources in the salary analysis, one of which the Bureau of Labor showing there are about 109 planning positions, transportation planning positions in the state of Iowa. And the projected growth and turnover in those positions is limited. And so when you look at, the second document, I'm gonna borrow yours for 1 second. My couple of bullet points here that go together, when you look at the current salary schedule for the MPO, you'll notice there are a number of planner positions on the schedule. In total, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Granted, planner 1, 2, and 3 are positions that the MPO has never filled. But the challenge that we had in assessing all of the wage ranges, the tongue twister, is with the competitive nature of the planner role and the number of planner positions we have on the wage schedule, it actually compresses the wage ranges that we can offer. So we need to take a little bit of time to evaluate those planner roles and determine what best suits the MPO, so we can establish the right competitive positions and the right competitive wage ranges. The other piece, I've been working on the governance analysis and have spent a significant amount of time in research, interviewing other MPOs across the nation. I spent time virtually. I wish it would have been part of the budget to travel. But Metropolitan Orlando, the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency in Omaha, Mid-Iowa Regional Planning Commission in Columbus, and Mid-America Regional Council in Kansas. So hearing how their organizations are structured, and they are all very different. So I focused on where we have things in common, what we can learn from those organizations, how they're structured, the value of different positions within their organizations, how they contribute to leadership, how they contribute to governance, and where we can grow and have opportunities. So leaning into the leadership team and the organization and how it's previously functioned, knowing the expectations that you have for leadership today and going through the executive director search is also something that we need to fully vet and shape as we go into this process. And then the last bullet point, we're also aware, based on the research that we have done so far, that it is likely some of the roles may exceed the market pay range as it's currently established. And even as I was looking at some of the data, I've been assessing the data in 4 different slices, national averages across all sectors, Des Moines, taking the data from Des Moines, Iowa across all sectors, Des Moines across nonprofits, and then Des Moines across government entities. And so I've analyzed all the positions as they exist today and didn't feel it was quite an accurate match. So all of that together, I bring to you next steps on the wage analysis to say, it's my advice to you that we maintain the schedule that is in place since July of 2021 for just a little bit longer, so I can present to you a more accurate schedule moving forward with the right positions and the right ranges for the work that's occurring today and into the future for the MPO. And to do that, I would encourage the MPO to engage the personnel committee to assist with helping us update the job descriptions to make sure they accurately reflect the reporting structures and duties. Then we can complete the assessment and right-size the ranges and roles to provide transparency. So that's a lot. I'll let you process for a second, and I'd welcome questions.
So my experience with trying to do these, one of the biggest challenges is figuring out who to compare yourself against.
Mhm.
Would you be suggesting that the personnel committee determine that? Or how is that being?
So the approach when you do this is you don't look at titles. That is why the job descriptions and understanding the work that each members are doing is so critical, because you assess based on duties. So that's part of all the research that I've done in the databases is found the duties that align with the work that's underway and matching it up together that way. Where I want to make sure we're working closely with the policy committee is that we've got good job descriptions reflecting the work and consensus coming to the full policy committee that this reflects our team and the direction that we want to move forward. And then we can finish the salary analysis based on that information. But I don't want to deliver to you job descriptions that haven't been through your process that you haven't vetted together as a staff and as a policy committee and agreed this reflects our organization. So.
So I get that. I guess I'm still not clear on how we're determining, so you can get your job duty description accurate. Then how are you determining, we're gonna compare this role against City of Omaha's MPO or against the county's job, planner, or how are you doing that? And who's making that determination?
So with all of the information, we can do the side by sides. So, bringing up the other MPOs, I have all of their data as well. So I have their job descriptions. So we can compare if their planner two, the duties within that planner two is equal to, and this isn't gonna be the right comparison, but our principal planner, right? So we can lay those duties side by side and say, do these match or do these not match? But the other thing that we have to consider is when we're looking across the country at the different salary analysis is, does Columbus have the actual same market that Des Moines has? So there's pieces there that we need to look at too. So.
And there's a finite number of those that you can use. So again, I guess I'm still just trying to figure out how are we filtering that down to, okay, we're gonna use these 5 comparable, whatever they are,
So
whatever the number is.
one more step back. That's where the main data that I've been focused on is the data that I can pull specific to Iowa. But we can use the benchmarks of the other MPOs to look at how they shape their job descriptions, duties, and then we can still use their ranges to know if we're in the ballpark, but I can use the Iowa data to be specific. We do have data from DART, and we do have data from the DOT specifically for Iowa comparatives.
Other questions? So, building upon that, so the other MPOs that you've checked with, Kansas City, Columbus, Omaha, there's Kansas, I'm not sure where specifically in Kansas, but.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, okay, so, these are markets, and I'm not sure if this is where Ted was going, but I guess when I think about those, I think about metropolitan areas that have a much higher population rate than we do. And I think, I'm just guessing here, I'm guessing that they have a far more extensive road network and transportation network built out. So, I think that I'd just like to vocalize, I think that is going to be part of the equation, and it's an important consideration. And making sure that we're selecting similar type of organizations and cities specific to our population of road network transportation.
So let me clarify something. The conversations that I've had with the other MPOs have been more at the higher level of how they shape their governance and leadership and things that they do to make them effective regional planning organizations. And then we've had the benefit of being able to capture their wage data and job descriptions and all of that information as a benefit of those conversations. So I have that as a supporting piece, but it isn't the main driver of the salary analysis. So maybe that's an easier way to make that distinction. So I have it there to look at, but it's not the main driver supporting the salary analysis.
Look forward to learning more about that. I guess I will also add, I very much appreciate your explanation for a little bit of the delay and the causes for that. I think it makes sense. I support that. I am curious a little bit more about what type of a timeframe are we thinking about going forward?
We'll be ready at the next policy meeting in August.
Okay.
Just a real quick question from Windsor Heights, if I might. We're talking about salary levels. The recent decision by the Department of Labor with regard to hourly versus salaried individuals, is that going to impact many of the folks with MPO moving forward, especially after the first of the year? I think when that minimum salary level is roughly around $120,000 a year.
That's a good question, Mike. I'll have to check into that a little bit more.
The MPO, we're all, aside from our summer interns, we're all salaried.
I
I think it was-
understand that, but there's new rules
about a
from the
year,
Department of Labor. Yeah.
You have to be hourly if you're making less.
Oh, okay.
There's an interim one that goes into
Yeah.
effect soon, but I think that it ratchets up to, if you make less than 58, you're entitled to overtime.
I'm not an expert on that, so.
That's phase two, so if you want to reach out for each one, we've looked at our planners.
Okay,
They have page.
thanks, Scott.
So I'm just curious, there's a lot of positions here on the schedule. We have, what positions do we have?
So I think, planner one, two,
Right, we have the executive director. Communications and strategy manager is Ben, that's Gunner's job. That was his title back in 2021. We now have a public affairs manager, and those are things that are being cleaned up too. We have two senior planners, an office manager. So probably easier to say what we don't have. We currently don't have 5 through 2. Currently don't have 8, we currently don't have 11 or 10.
And you have an accountant that is an alternate.
What did you say about an account?
There's an accountant position that isn't on the range. It didn't exist
It
in.
didn't exist with this.
So,
Okay.
so just to repeat, I'm sorry, I barely hear what you're saying. You do not have a 2, 3, or 4.
2, 3, so we do not have 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'll touch on 5, we just made a higher, there's not on that.
I'm relieved by just the knowledge. So these numbers are.
And I will say, we've never had planner 1, 2, 3, that was something that was put in the schedule, but we've never had it.
Oh, can you find someone? Okay.
Another question, Kat.
It's not the subject. I mean, I work for a nonprofit. I think the state's effort to raise teacher pay for public service jobs has changed a lot of the thinking, and probably, entry level 22-year-old teachers are gonna all make $53,000, have a pretty good benefit package. I think it's just something that we should. It be one of those comps that we're thinking about. And in my time watching the MPO, I think our continuity of our staff is most in jeopardy from competition from the private sector. And so on top of MPOs and others, I think it's really fair to say we're likely gonna lose staff to the private sector. And we need to be as competitive as appropriate there. And so I just offer that as a thought, because I didn't hear local private sector jobs listed. People you're looking at.
Yep.
Maybe I missed it. So,
Yep, it is. Des Moines, all sectors.
okay.
Any other questions, Kat? All right, we made mention of the personnel committee. I just remind the membership of that personnel committee is Mayor O'Connor, Mayor Jones, Councilmember Gatto, and City Manager Jones. So guys would like to think about that and let me know if moving forward if you have a change of heart. Otherwise, you'll be getting another assignment.
Give the staff a chance to resign before they convene.
All right, no other questions. Thank you, Kathy. We look forward to your report in August. Up next, we have a presentation by Dart. I'm going to turn it over to Gunnar.
Very briefly introduce Amanda. She really needs some introduction to this audience here, but as we've been doing, we've been bringing members of the MPO to present in front of you. Our goals here are to make sure you're up and informed on what is happening. With DART in particular, it's been a hot topic lately for reasons that you all are aware of. And we're just glad to have Amanda here to speak to some of the questions that we fielded from you.
Okay, Gunnar. Well, thank you. This is actually is this clicking? There we go. My first time being in front of you since I took the CEO role. I know I've answered some questions sitting from over there, but I appreciate the chance to present. How to summarize what's going on with DART in 5 to 10 minutes is not an easy challenge, but I'm gonna try. So what I want to cover that I believe covers most of the questions I have heard from people in this room or your colleagues are, where is DART headed? Where are we going? How are we gonna get there? And then some questions about what's happening with facilities and fleet. So I want to cover first, where we're trying to go. And let's talk about a shared regional vision. Because one thing I know we as staff can't do is meet 12 different visions for what we want for our transit in our community. And so the idea is, as I came on as CEO and asked about what do you believe our vision for transit is, there were lots of different answers. We need to get to some more consensus of what we are together as a region and what we're apart as individual communities as it relates to transit. And so that is really my goal as CEO. We also need to update and ensure that vision is reflecting, and I've heard this from many of you, and I know it myself, we need to make sure we're reflecting modern post-pandemic fleet trends in fleet and ridership. So we have work to do all of those things. So how are we gonna get there? Let's talk about the 2-year. Again, we had lots of conversation on this, so huge thank you to the MPO, all the member communities, who pitched in a variety of ways. This was really a team effort to come up with a solution. We ended up with a 2-year stability plan. So again, thank you to all of you at the MPO and your individual communities. We also, this is what I know is referred to as the kitchen sink of different funding options. So we've used one-time capital funds, one-time reserve funds. The city of Des Moines has contributed above the property tax that we can collect. We have made cuts, which I will be talking about as well. And with that, we will also be eliminating the D-line downtown in the coming months. So all of those things combined is how we got to a point that we have a 2-year stability budget. I do just want to highlight a few things around the cuts and reductions, because this is important for me that you all know. Because one of the things I hear the most is, can DART be more efficient in where we're spending money? There's lots of different ways of looking at that. But I want you all to know that as we went through this process this last year, we looked under every couch cushion. We totaled nearly $1 million in reductions. And that includes 4 position eliminations that are losing capacity we have. Some of you, there's some things related to community outreach, having buses at events, being certain places. Business and community partnerships is one of the positions we don't have anymore. There's something we are not able to do. As we, as a leadership team looked at it, we focused on our core. Our core focus is delivering service. So we looked at anything we could that we could cut without impacting service directly. So you'll see we're eliminating onboard Wi-Fi. Something most transit agencies have, something a lot of our communities use, our customers use, but we've got to look where we can. And there's a lot of things I'll tell you, we have cuts and things we looked at that were 3,000 here, 5,000 there. It took a lot of things to come at this. When we look at, there's not a lot of fluff. Anything else that's left in terms of cuts is really going to be service. And so we just need to know that as we go into this future work. So we have this essentially 18-month runway to be ready for fiscal year 26. And so what we have said we need to do is reimagine the future of DART, right? This has to look different, and we have to figure out what it is we want to be sustainable for the next 10 years. So the goals of that project are a shared understanding of what we're trying to achieve with regional transit and how is success measured. We have performance metrics right now. Did all those performance metrics, are they right to keep your communities and your elected officials confident in that you're getting the value you want out of DART? We need that consensus on level of service and the service delivery model. Are we using microtransit, or are we using large buses? Where do we have a fixed route? Where do we have the different types of services? How do we plan for a couple different models? I've had some of you challenge me, if you get no more money, what does DART look like in 10 years? We want to look at that. If we could do more and be better and be more competitive with other communities our size, what would that look like? We want to be able to show all of that. And then there's some conversations ongoing as to whether or not we need to revisit the governance model or the funding formula. So that is, it's important that we have buy-in on those foundational components. So those are some of the goals of Reimagine DART. The process of this, many of you who sit on DART member communities have just completed, and I really appreciate you filling out surveys that went to our DART member communities. We need to know where all of our member communities at, what's most important to you in your value in DART. Where are we aligned and where are we not aligned? And then we're going to be going into an interview process in late July. Commissioners will be getting invitations to that. And we can have up to 3 people at that. So it'll be the commissioner, and then if they want the alternate city manager or another elected official that they want to bring. And then we'll be doing facilitated workshops with the commission so that they can come on and inform for us help us make decisions on to what the top things are that we want to accomplish when we go into the service redesign process, where we're looking at everything from, Clyde wants more micro transit service to well, where are the buses empty? Where are the buses full? How can we be more efficient? Looking at a service delivery model, we have a hub and spoke model that was designed many, many years ago. Is that still the right model? Is it still the most efficient way? Does it meet the needs of our customers? Some of you know in here, we have customers that it takes them more than 2 hours to get where they need to go when they're traveling from one suburb to another. I don't think that's okay. But again, some of it comes back to what we want as a community, looking at all of those options over the next 12 to 18 months. And some of the other components we're looking at that we know are important as well is looking at some different financial models, also ensuring we're looking at diversified revenue streams. If the commission chooses to revisit governance or funding, that would certainly be on the table as well. We're also looking at our fares. How much do we collect from someone to ride the bus? That is something that hasn't been revisited in a long time, and we know why it hasn't, but this is the right time to throw this. I'm passionate about this. Look at everything. So we're gonna be looking at everything. One other top question that comes up is economic impact. And we know that's something that the MPO is considering. It's a question that comes up with all our transportation modes. So what is the impact to our community and the benefit? And what are we using for that? So that is what we're trying to do with Reimagine DART. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to have the conversations and do everything we can to get there. A few other details that I know I want to make sure to cover with you are a few infrastructure components. So fleet, we're continuing to diversify our fleet, looking at a mix of 30-foot, 40-foot, and light-duty vehicles. We're continuing to look at zero emission transition planning and what's happening and what's changed and continues to change in the zero emission sphere and where we need to go in the future. Our operations and maintenance facility, many of you have heard about this. As a reminder, the reason we're building an operations and maintenance facility is in some, the federal government won't give us more money for our current facility, and because we're landlocked and surrounded by residential and other development, we can't do what we need to do in the current location, so it ends up being a better local taxpayer benefit to build a new facility, fix where we are. We have money for phase 1 and we're expecting to break ground on that, and then we're continuing to seek the federal investment we need to fund the rest of that. Huge shout out to your staff for working with us on bus stops, shelters, and benches. We have 52 active bus shelters, 15 benches, and we're also adding new shelters in Des Moines, Johnston, Urbandale, and Windsor Heights. This is one of the top requests we get from customers, and it's really important. We often hear it from non-riders. I hate seeing that person stand up there in the snow or in the rain. So the more we can do that, we also appreciate the conversations with you on roadway projects and making sure that transit is thought about as you make changes within your communities. Of course, for us in transit, for all of you as well, technology is a key part of our infrastructure. And it's something we're always looking at. The MyDart app was first implemented 2017, 7 years old is a pretty long time for an app. And there's a lot of things happening in terms of payment and technology that we need to stay on top of and also make sure we're prepared and protected against cybersecurity risks and all those things. So there's a lot of moving pieces to both keep what we've got going and running as best as possible every day, and then figure out how we're going to get to a better point long term. That is my high level summary. What question?
Amanda? Hi, Amanda, Michael Libby in Windsor Heights. Just a couple of real quick questions. The public comment period ended, I believe, on Friday of last week. How long will it take you guys to work through that data? So that's number one. Number two is I'm pleased that you're going to be putting shelters in Windsor Heights. As you well know, we're one of the busiest routes here in the metro. And does that shelter include the it would be the east side near Sam's Club that's been down for some period of time? There's a western side of the street that has a shelter, but over on the eastern side there is none. Are we replacing that at some point?
Answer the first question. When you say public input, I'm assuming you mean the surveys that were sent out to member communities. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So we are working. I appreciate there's been some trying to get more responses this week, and we anticipate that we'll be having a summary of that in early July. We'll need to share it first with the commission, then it will inform the questions we want to dig further into in the interview. So I anticipate probably like the August is when it would be shared more publicly. We'll begin sharing it with commissioners in July. And then I will have to look into that stop. I don't have an answer on that specifically, but I'll get back to you on it.
Thanks much, Amanda.
Yes.
So Amanda kind of touched on, I was gonna say, for those of you in attendance, make sure you encourage or you complete your community survey. So that way all voices can be heard on that. And I'm assuming the sooner the better, Amanda, because
End of night tonight. We've pushed the deadline a few times, and if we're gonna keep moving forward, we've gotta have a stop. We have got a lot more response in the last few days, so I appreciate that, but if you haven't done it, do it tonight, please.
other questions for Amanda? All right, thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to important vote and downtown water trail change order. Zach's already making his way to the podium.
Yes, thank you. Snyder Associates has made staff aware of a couple of change orders that have been done for the water trails project. The first one is for the Scott Avenue Dam. This is the second change order that we've had on this portion of the project. And this is to extend the stage one completion date from May 30th, 2024 to June 21st. This is really being driven by some work that was being done on the levee by the city of Moines. Their timeline got pushed a little bit, so it's pushed this timeline as well. There isn't any budget impact connected to this change. I would note that based on the water levels, we are expecting probably another schedule change to this project. The water levels have been high enough that they haven't been able to get in and do a lot of work lately. They're going to take that as a separate change order, so just be aware that we might have another one coming as far as the schedule goes. The second one is for the Harry Street portion of the project. It's the first change order on this portion. This really all of these have to do with some soil issues they encountered on the site they were not aware of. The poor soils kind of made it necessary to put a polymer grid in for the parking lot and modify the subbase to address those poor soils. And in addition to that, they needed to add some footers to the aprons so those aprons wouldn't sink. Again, that had to do with the poor soils. Also, as part of this change order, there was some trash and debris removal. They encountered a lot more trash debris down there than they were expecting. And so actually that's the biggest part of the financial impact of this change order was that trash and debris removal. The total on this is a little over $56,000 for that one. The exec committee reviewed this. They recommended approval. I'd be happy to take any questions you have. Otherwise, their recommendations before you approve.
Move. The question, yeah, if I could, the trash and debris removal is pre-existing, you think, or? Used to be a dump there.
Yeah, it was something that was there.
Yeah, my understanding though is they're having troubles with new trash being dumped. I want to make sure that they were securing the site better to handle that.
Okay,
If you could share that with me.
I will share that with them.
All right, I think Councilmember Gatto moved it. Is there a second?
Second.
By Andrew. Any further discussion on this? Both change orders. None, all those in favor, please say aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Change orders are approved. Up next, we have a report and vote on the fiscal year 2024-27 Transportation Improvement Program amendments. Back.
Yes, we have 3 project requests to amend into the 2024 TIP. All 3 of these are from DART. The requests coming either from DART or from the Iowa DOT. So this first one here is for a technology and ridership promotion project. That title is a little maybe misleading. It really is a marketing campaign that was awarded $80,000 in ICAP funding. The total project cost is $100,000. This funding was awarded but not programmed, so we need to program it into the 2024 TIP so that they can expend these funds. These aren't funds that the MPO has anything to do with. These are just funds that come from the state. The second one is also an ICAP project. So again, not funds that the MPO controls. This is for the Route 17 extension to Bondurant. A little over $104,000 was awarded for this project in ICAP funding for a total project cost of $130,000. Again, we need to move this to 2024 so they can spend those funds. The last one, the DOT actually reached out to us regarding this. As you recall, a month or so ago, this committee did recommend to approve CRP funding from the MPO to DART to purchase vehicles. It was $3.6 million. It was recommended in CRP funding to DART. The DOT requested that we move this into 2024. We currently have it programmed in the 25 draft, but they wanted to see it programmed in 24 so they can go ahead and get it off their books, move it over to FTA. So these three projects were presented to the executive committee. They recommended approval. Happy to take any questions you have.
Any questions for that? That would entertain a motion. Move. Been seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, amendments pass. Moving on to item number 11, report and vote on draft fiscal year 2025 to 28 transportation improvement program. Zach?
So staff has completed the draft 25 to 28 tip. We will be submitting that to we actually did submit this to the Iowa DOT. It's actually due by June 15th. So following executive committee approval, we did forward that on to them so they can start doing their review of this document. The document is also being reviewed by the technical committee. We're requesting that any comments that the tech committee has or the DOT have to get those back to us so we can incorporate that into the final draft, which is due to Iowa DOT on July 15th. So we're currently taking those comments and updating the draft as we get those comments. Happy to take any questions you have, but this is before you for your approval to forward on to DOT.
Need a motion?
Move approval.
Second. Any further discussion on this? None, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass. Up next, we have Dylan on a report and vote on self-certification.
Thank you. The MPO is required to self-certify our planning process annually. We also go through a quadrennial in-person review from USDOT, but every year we're supposed to certify ourselves. This certification is included within the TIP, so Zach just talked about the TIP. If you look at that, there's an amendment or an amendment at the back of the plan that includes the document that's on the follow within the agenda packet you have before you. But it basically just outlines and says that we are in compliance with all of the 8 of those things that are listed up there on the screen. Some of those are federal acts like the Clean Air Act, the Older Americans Act, and so forth. Some of them are requirements that are placed upon NGOs saying that we have to develop a long-range plan, we have to, comply with public engagement requirements and so forth. So that page in the tip certifies that we are in compliance with all of that. If there are questions, happy to go through how we achieve any of those things or how we're not violating, in some cases, the acts that are out there. Otherwise, this is a routine item. We ask for your approval, but happy to take any questions.
Zach? Sorry, Dylan.
No problem.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this? None, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Up next, we have a report and vote on DOT discretionary grant applications. Carl?
Yes, thank you. The charging and fueling infrastructure discretionary grant program is back for round 2. It's the CFI grant. The new funding came out at the end of May and opens up a $1.3 billion funding. So as a reminder, this is for eligible fuels such as electricity, hydrogen, natural gas. Our previous application focused on electric vehicle charging only at publicly available charging locations. Our last application was not successful. One part of this grant set aside $500 million in available funding for previously unawarded applications if they received a score of recommended or highly recommended. Ours unfortunately was not recommended. And there's reasons why for that. We are requesting a meeting with Federal Highway to understand more about our previous application. From what we understand, some of our locations were not ideal. They didn't meet the criteria for like multifamily housing in low-income areas. So we're re-looking at that and meeting with stakeholders to better site charging locations in the future. So the round 2 that we're going after is $800 million in available funding, and the deadline is on August 28th. Staff did attend a couple webinars to learn more about the next round of funding, which will apply in citing the next round. We are setting 3 informational meetings with stakeholders. Those meeting requests already went out to your staff, and we are highly recommending that people attend so we can have good dialogue and make a more sound application for round two. Next, grant that we are seeking approval for is the Active Transportation Infrastructure Improvement Program. So this ATIP grant allows communities to identify and prioritize and implement improvements to the largest barriers that affect safe and accessible transportation for pedestrians and bicycle networks. Staff plans to go after a grant to identify improvements to our active transportation network. We already have a connect plan that was established in 2009. This grant would serve to update the existing plan. So staff plans to submit a grant for $200,000, which would require a local match of $40,000. It was put before the executive committee last week and was approved. So staff would take any questions at this time and recommend your approval.
Joe, I had a few questions in regards to the first grant. If I understood that correctly, you're applying for the full 800 million, or how much are you applying?
So the said number isn't decided yet. The previous application we submitted was for $4 million. It was about 154 charging locations. So we intend to probably exceed that number and request a larger, more regional charging network would be more desirable by the federal highway. So probably will take it.
And the dollar amount you apply for, would that come? This meeting?
80%. So the 20% would be on the local municipality.
So, for my quick 30-second Google search, as of last year, there's about 13,000 electric vehicles in the entire state. Which is like 1% of all registered vehicles. So I don't know if this is my opinion, if we could find a better way of getting a better economic impact on grant applications. For example, if there are grants out there, which I think there are, to help gas stations upgrade to E15, right? Provide lower cost fuel for way more citizens than what they're going to get on the EV market, have bigger economic impact in the state of Iowa. That's just.
I think go ahead, Carl, but I think the targeted fuels though, are that second bullet.
Right, for this notice of funding, it's for electric, hydrogen, natural gas. Propane.
We'd have to look and see if there are grant programs like you're describing that might be for other users, if there are.
Other questions?
So from a staffing appetite perspective, is there an appetite to go out?
To look into the other ones.
We just, with going at this would hinder our ability to.
I don't think it would hinder it. I think it would just be a question of, from you all, is that something we want to pursue? And we'll look forward into those kind of grant applications and come back and see if we want to look into. I'm not familiar with them to know if that's something that public entities apply to, or if it's the gas station types themselves that go after those grants, because some are available to, certain applicants.
Probably would be a private grant application process, but, and I have no idea if they partner with them through that process somehow, but.
Other questions? All right, this is a report vote. Entertain a motion. So moved. Seconded. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Yeah, we'll report back on the findings. Up next, our report on the carbon reduction program funding process and that.
Thank you. So when the committee decided to award $3.6 million to DART in carbon reduction program funding, part of that recommendation was to look at the remaining funding, which is about $5.5 million currently, and review that and develop a process so that the other communities in the region could get access to the CRP funding. So staff put together a committee. Their names are listed on the screen there before you. That committee met back on May 16th to begin discussing what this process could look like. On the next slide, we got some notes as far as kind of what that discussion looked like. They had a really good discussion. It probably lasted about an hour. Some of the things that they talked about, one of the things they wanted us to look into was whether or not we could do a sub-allocation for the CRP funding. So just based on population or something, each community would get a certain amount of dollars of CRP funding. We did reach out to the DOT. They were not, said we could not do that, which is similar to STBG and TAP, which we can't sub-allocate either. So we weren't really surprised with that answer. So going on to the other discussion items we had, they wanted to make sure that the application process that we looked at was open and eligible to all different types of uses, so that communities could have a wide variety of projects they would be able to apply for. One note they made is that they did want to see this probably staggered, so not released at the same time as STBG and TAP. They felt like this would be easier on their staffs to apply for this if they weren't having to also think about what was happening with STBG and TAP. Also, a benefit to this is if they apply to CRP and did not receive funding, then they could apply that project to STBG later on. The other thing that was discussed was using carbon reduction as the key metric for evaluating these applications, which we all felt like made sense to this carbon reduction program. I think I've got another slide here. So looking at next steps, we will be drafting materials to share with the CRP subcommittee probably sometime in early to mid-July. We reached out to the DOT to get some feedback from them on what their ICAP application looked like as far as how they evaluated those. We just heard back from them this week, so we're going to look at what they sent us and start developing what our process might look like as far as how we evaluate them. So those application materials, once we present them to the subcommittee and have them get a chance to comment on them, we'll be bringing them back to tech and vetting policy probably in August. If everybody was happy with that, we would then be able to move forward, probably open up the CRP application in September or October, so early fall sometime. And again, this would put us ahead of our STBG process, so that if there were communities that wanted to apply for both and then see what happened, that would do that option open to them. So that's where we are with the CRP process. Happy to take any questions.
Question. Is there a place where I could do a little research on what are eligible projects and what are like target kind of projects?
Yep. Yeah, we actually, the DOT gave a presentation, I guess a month or so ago. We can send that presentation to you and get you some more.
Yeah, if there's a deck or something, I'd love to see.
Yep. It's fairly broad, but to be honest, very broad. A lot of people are using them to do ITS type projects, for example. That's a lot of considered.
Any other questions for that?
Did you say IT project?
ITS.
All right, thank you, Zach. Moving on, we have a transportation capital improvement program update. Josh.
Hello, everyone. Today I'll be talking about the Regional Transportation Capital Improvement Plan for the fiscal year 2025 through 2028. So I'm creating this document that will encompass all the local municipalities, counties, and Iowa DOT within the MPO planning area. These projects will be organized by their municipality, their project type, fiscal year funding, and their funding sources. The final output that I'm looking to create is an ArcGIS story map that encompasses all these projects into one thing that are within the MPO planning area. And this map is a great tool for public engagement as well, and it's easily accessible. In the tech committee meeting, I asked for member governments to send me their most up-to-date CIP by Friday, June 21st. That is tomorrow. And my next steps for this project is to continue gathering that data while formulating an outline for the map. Next slide, please, Gunnar. Thank you. This table here represents the member governments that have already sent me their most up-to-date CIP. And I thank those member governments for giving that to me. And for the members that have not yet sent that to me, please submit your CIP as soon as possible. Thank you, everyone, and happy to take any questions.
Questions for Josh? All right, thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Moving on to Director's Report, Dylan.
Thank you. I've got a couple items for you here, and I want to just recap. We've got this slide here that I've shown a few times showing the kind of the three items that are coming together to create an optimized MPO. For the aligned board, you already heard the cast about the governance assessment and the staff salary and everything, so I won't discuss that too much. One other item though that came to our attention today, actually, we're a member of what's called the National Association of Regional Councils, or NARC. Great name, I know. But they have a board that's made up of local elected officials representing MPOs and other regional entities like ours. Iowa is part of a district that is inclusive of Kansas, Missouri, and Iowa. There's currently a vacancy. So if anybody here is interested in getting more involved in a national organization like that, please let me know if they're looking for someone. I will note the president of.
I like Tom Hatton.
Elected Yeah, I'm sorry. I will note.
I really wanted to do this.
I will note the incoming president of NARC is county supervisor from Mills County, which is in the Omaha MPO area. So there is good Iowa representation. Someone needs to fill her slot. I don't see a lot of hands going up, but if anybody's interested in that, please let me know. Next item I have for you is an update on staff. So again, the staffing survey and everything that Pat's is doing. Last time I mentioned that we do have an associate. So earlier you asked what positions we currently have or don't have. One of them that's been vacant is an associate planner. We just went through interviews, made an offer to someone earlier this week and they accepted. So next, starting on July 8th, so by the next time this meets, we will have a new planner with us. He's a recent graduate of Iowa State Master's Program. So that'll be a great addition to the staff. I also want to shout out to Z. He was accepted into the LEAD DSM Community Leadership Program just last week or so. So he'll go through that starting this fall, and that's just a great way to get our staff more integrated with the community and develop leadership skills. I wish you can look on that. One other thing for strategic planning. So again, we talked about some of this. A couple of things to look forward to in the next couple of months that kind of get into the strategic planning. We're working on wrapping up our long-range transportation plan, so you'll start to see more information about that as the chapters become available. Ask you to review those, discuss anything that we need to do and adopt those. Have a November deadline. And then Amanda made reference to this in her discussion too, but we've talked in the past about an economic impact analysis. As we continue to talk about this at staff, tying that to the long-range plan kind of makes sense to us, and there could be some costs associated with that, but we've seen kind of a best practice from other MPOs is doing a long-range plan and then looking at what the economic impact of the projects in that plan would be for the community. That just helps provide another lens of, you know, how are we addressing congestion, how are we addressing safety, but also what's the economic impact. So that's something we'll provide more information about for you all. We can have a discussion if that's something we want to do. Final thing I have for you is last night, the MPO, we had a team with the Greater Mountain Partnership through the corporate games, we took the gold medal in the trivia contest. So, last year we got the bronze medal, so we took it up a notch this year. Look to defend our title next year. That's what I have.
Any questions for Dylan? Congratulations. Questions for Dylan? All right, moving on to other non-action items of interest to the committee. Is anyone at the back got something? All right.
Just a quick update on the comprehensive safety action plan. The consultant team has been out doing a lot of public engagement. We've had a survey and a map that's been online. It's been open for a while, probably a couple months now. That will be closing on July 12th. We've gotten a lot of feedback on that. I think we've had around 130 unique users, over 750 site visits. A lot of comments have been provided through that forum. They've also been doing a lot of in-person meetings, both within the communities, but also just directly with member governments. So appreciate all your time that you've taken to meet with them over the last few months. And then upcoming, they will have some region-wide engagement events. They're planning about 4 of these regional events that will be happening probably starting in the next month or so. I believe on the next slide, I've got a picture of that online map that I was talking about. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's a lot of every little red or yellow or blue thing you can see on there. It's a comment that has been submitted. So we have received a lot of comments on there. They're basically commenting on whether or not different areas feel safe or feel unsafe and what kind of improvements they'd like to see being made. I believe I have one more quick slide that just kind of outlines some of the next steps. I won't walk through every single one of these, but they are going to be continuing to do engagement. They'll be wrapping up that public survey and online map. And then they're going to be integrating the data that they've collected on crashes with what they've received from the communities, and then start working on prioritizing where key safety locations are that would make it into the plan and ultimately hopefully be eligible for the implementation dollars. So happy to take any questions you have. I just want to give you that brief update on where we're at with the comprehensive safety action plan.
Could be any questions? Thank you, Zach. Anyone else have anything to add? Interesting group. Nothing. Our next meeting day is August 15th at 4, and we have no July default meeting. Nothing else before us. Thank you for your time today. We are adjourned.